Hey guys, it's your boy, Ballface8020, back again with another great sales tutorial. What I wanted to talk about was something that I would say that I'm actually kind of even passionate about it, and that's cold calling, which is really the only part of sales I find interesting. Um, the cold calling to me is, and by when I say cold calling, I mean cold calling over the phone. There is other forms of cold calling, like when you technically sometimes when you like knock on people's doors, that's called a cold call. Um, and or like go in directly into businesses or into offices and pitch your services or product. That's a form of cold calling, but I don't have any experience with any of that. So I can't really talk about that. I'm just talking about phone cold calling. And what interests me, I'm not really sure. I mean, I guess it's multiple things that interest me about it. Um, when I first started, or before I first started, I was thinking that is one thing because I remember way back in the day, I was looking for ways to work from home. This was like back, now I think working from home sucks, but way back in the day, I wanted to work from home. And one thing that was said that like one way to be able to work from home is be willing to do cold calls. And I was like, there's no way I could do that. Just call up a stranger to try to pitch a product without having like any information about them. I like that sounds like it sounded like I couldn't. No, it sounds horrible. And I certainly didn't think it would work. But even if it did work, I wouldn't be willing to do it. Um, so I got into I guess my first experience with sales um, was when I was trying to do my own lead generation business, and while that technically, to get the clients for that, technically it does take cold calls. It's not a cold call where you're trying to really sell anything per se, or because the way I did it with lead generation was I would say that call somebody up and I would be like, I'll get you leads for your business. And then we can do like an honor system since these are small local businesses. For every, client I get you that you close, you give me 10% of that. And the I mean that business obviously didn't work out for me, but that was my first experience doing sales, and even those calls were hard for me to do, harder than I expected. But it wasn't like a pure cold call where you're calling up to like try to sell somebody something. I couldn't have done that. But that's what got me interested in sales or got me interested in looking at sales jobs. So then the first actual sales job I took was doing mortgages, and I was told when I was hired that that we would be getting like leads, like what they call hot leads, which are people who that day, often that hour, had said, I want to get a quote for a mortgage refinance. And then that would get passed to us and you would call them up. So that's not cold. That's somebody who's expressed interest. However, what I didn't realize when I took the job is before they would give you the hot leads, you had to work with the cold leads. And those are leads that they maybe came in as hot leads 3 months ago, 4 months ago, maybe longer. And you were like reaching back out to them, see if anything has changed, see what has happened, stuff like that. And that's the thing is like when you're dealing with a B2C, that's business to consumer, a pure cold call essentially no longer exists. Like the old style, like what people were doing in the 80s of like, taking out the phone book and just calling people and saying, want to buy my product, that doesn't exist anymore because of do not call list. So there's always going to be some data set if you're calling consumers. It's different if you're calling businesses, but if you're calling consumers, there's always going to be some data set that you're working with, and it may be old cold data, but it's still going to be data. So you're not going to have like a pure cold call in that sense, and as the sense of like what people think of as telemarketers reading shit out of the phone book, stuff like that. However, it can often be the case, and as I can tell you from my current job selling insurance, where it ends up feeling like essentially the same thing. And considering that calls are when you're selling different, you're not only are you selling like everybody who's doing cold calls is selling different products or different services, and they're doing it with different data sets. Some are colder than others. So you need to adjust, for what you're doing. There isn't really a one size fits all, even in the B2C space for cold calling. So, and for the sake of this video, I'm just gonna, well, you know what? I'll talk about both. I'm not gonna talk about the dealing with gatekeepers on the B2B, that's business to business side, but I'll just talk about different things I've done with cold calling. So anyway, when I first started doing the cold leads, when I was doing mortgages, which my manager insisted, he said, it's not a cold call. They expressed interest. It's like, yeah, they expressed interest a few months ago. They don't know who I am. They don't know what the hell's going on. It felt like a cold call. It is a type of cold call. It's not like the most cold thing ever, but it's cold. So what I was horrible at it at first. I was like super nervous, super intimidated. I didn't know what to say, and like that goes away pretty quick. But that I want to stop myself for a second. There's like sometimes people just have like anxiety about the idea of cold calling, and I certainly did. My guess is for me, after the first few calls, you'll get rid of the anxiety from that part. However, there will always be anxiety if you aren't comfortable with the way that you're going to open the conversation. I would say that that's the most important thing. If you have confidence, if you feel good about the way you're going to start the conversation, you will never be afraid to call anybody. You might be a little nervous. There might be a little bit of adrenaline, especially when you're early in the day, before like you've got in rhythm, and maybe especially after a bad call or something like that. But that's all it's going to be, is a little bit of anxiety, and you're going to have an underlying confidence and be able to pull through. And it's like you're not going to be stressed out going to work or shit like that, thinking like, oh, I can't do any more cold calls. And that's what was so hard for me when I did my first when I did the mortgage cold calls, is because I didn't know. I didn't really feel it took me a while to get to like an intro that I felt comfortable with. Like I was doing their horrible script at first, saying like, hey, this is Ballface 8020 from XYZ Mortgage, and something to do like, how are you, and blah 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 blah. And then it just felt unnatural, tacky. I felt like like I was being salesy. They knew I was being salesy. I didn't like it. So as I got more comfortable, the way that what I did then, and I if I went back to doing mortgages, this is still exactly how I would do it. Is you call up, I would call up and I would say, hey, Bill, whatever the name is on the list. I might stick with that. I don't know. That's good because you just stick with it. Because a lot of times if you say, hey, do I have Bill? They'll say no, even though obviously it is them or some shit like that. But I'll say like, hey, Bill, this is Ballface 8020 from XYZ Mortgage. A couple of months ago, or a few months ago, you reached out regarding a quote. I just wanted to follow up with you to see where you were with that today. All I have to say. So, like, what is that? 2 sentences, 3 sentences, very quick, way before they've. Now, you'll occasionally get some people who hang up on it, but what I really like about that is it's totally open-ended, and like they can say like, it's not. I'm not asking them if they're still interested or anything like that. All I'm saying is leaving it like, so what ended up happening with that? And look, like anything else you do, and you have to understand this with a cold call, the overwhelming, really most people aren't going to answer the phone. You're going to have, I would say at most 75%, at most 25% of people are going to answer the phone. So you make 100 dials, at most you get 25 pickups. It's depending on what data you're working with. It's in my experience, it's usually substantially less than that. But let's just say you got those 25 pickups in 100 dials. Those of those 25, I don't know. I would say that you would get at least 5 of those 25 who'd be willing to talk to you. Like I'm talking if you're doing mortgages. So like they might, like a lot of people will just be like, they know what it's a sales call and they'll be like, oh, not interested, or they'll hang up, or they'll be like, oh, I've already got them taken care of, or yeah, I'm not looking to do this right now. Can you call back later? Some shit like that. But you'll get 5 who at least open up and talk. And then of those 5, you might get some quotes. 2, 3 quotes. I don't know. It really depends. Like I said, it depends on the industry. So, but for insurance, you can do. Not insurance. I'm sorry, for mortgages, it's not that bad. It was. That was the one part of the job I was really good at, was working cold data and being able to talk to people and get them a quote from that. My mistake then was thinking that, because I'm good at cold calling these mortgage leads, that means that I'm good at all forms of cold calling. And that's not how it worked out. So when I quit that job. You can say I got fired, but I didn't. I definitely quit. I told everybody. I told my mom that I got fired because I wasn't going to tell her that I quit, but I quit. That job. But anyway, so the job that I had after that, I was like, okay, well, I can do cold calls now. So this is great. This opens up tons of opportunities, and I can just get a job doing cold calls from home. So I reached out to I filled out an application for a job, like just a 100% commission job, selling web and digital marketing services to small businesses. And but this time it was different, because whereas I had all the leads provided for me at the mortgage place, when I was going to small businesses, I was on my own. I had to do like all my own research, get the data and stuff, and that means, like, for the business, I had to look up the businesses, find out the name of the owner, and then hope the number that I had there was the name of the owner, and then you need get the introduction from there, and then try to sell them after that. Another thing is, I underestimated the difference in, like, there's a psychological difference between, like, when you're in an office building, with a phone with a landline, and you're surrounded by other people who are on the phone and stuff, and you're in front of a computer, that there's like this psychological difference that makes that much easier to do than you being at home in front of your laptop on your smartphone. And it caused a much bigger amount of anxiety to me. It caused me a lot of anxiety, whereas I had no anxiety, cold calling people for what was it for? It was for the mortgages. I had no anxiety. Like, once I got an intro I was comfortable with, I had no anxiety. I had a lot of anxiety when I was calling small business owners. And small business owners, just in general, can be more intimidating. And it probably wouldn't bother me as much now. But even now, I'm not working with small business owners now, and even though there is opportunity in my industry, so, I guess I must be still a little intimidated, right? Yeah, so for the when I was doing that, I did kind of the same thing. At first, at least, is I called people up and I was like, this is like Mark's Construction, and I have the owner Mark on the phone. Call him up and be like, Mark, hey, this is Ballface 8020 from XYZ, XYZ Digital. And I'm looking at your website right now. I think there's a lot of things on it that look good. We do websites and other forms of digital marketing. So I wanted to reach out and see where you were with your web and digital marketing today. That's what I said. Now, that's what I said at first. And the reason I got away from it was really because, first of all, I wasn't having success, although I didn't have a lot of volume. Second of all, really the main reason was the anxiety. I just felt so anxious, like, when I was doing it. So, like, let's say I would go back to B2B. Would I still say stuff that way? Yeah. It really depends. Yes, I would, but that's for a product like like digital marketing or for websites. Yes, I would. or for lead generation, I would say it that way. And then I will talk about this later. That's not what I would say for something like insurance. This goes back to what I was saying, is that you can't do, like, there's not a one size fits all intro for cold calling. What may work for mortgages might not work for business to business, might not work for insurance, stuff like that. But actually, no, I mean, I probably should have stayed with it, stayed with doing that. But like I said, I just had so much anxiety about calling these small businesses. So, I was watching a lot of sales training, and I've mentioned this guy before, Benjamin Dennehy. And if you are interested in sales, definitely, go check him out. He's going to tell you a million times more about sales than I could. But what he does, and I really liked it when I first saw it, is every call, it's the same thing every call. He calls up and he says, like, Fred, hello, Benjamin speaking. Fred, I'm going to be honest with you. This is a sales call. Now, did you want to hang up now, or did you want to give me 30 seconds? And here's the thing, right? And he says that, like over 90%, of people are like, oh, haha, yeah, okay, you can have 30 seconds. Now here's where the problems come, and that's why I started using it. But here's where the problems come in. One, Benjamin is super charismatic. He has a very magnetic personality, and it even comes out over the phone and through his voice. So not everybody else is going to be able to pull it off as well as him. Second problem, this is what he's using when he's speaking to business owners. Often, and the type of business owners are more on the high end, not the lower end type of business owners that I was dealing with. When you are dealing with lower end business owners, and definitely when you're dealing with consumers, you are going to get a lot of people who are going to answer that question with, I want to hang up. Or they just are going to hang up. And then the third, and this is the biggest reason I got away from it, is that it's a gimmick. It's too gimmicky. It's like the way that I consider it is if it's something that everybody can use, it's a tactic. And if it's something that if everybody used it, it would no longer work, it's a gimmick. And like the thing is, like, you can imagine if every salesperson started that call that way. Like, hey, this is a sales call. Did you want to give me 30 seconds or did you want to hang up? I mean, it probably, I guess it probably would work okay a little bit if people were used to it, but it wouldn't be it would be not nearly as effective. Although I guess you could say that about any tactic. So you know what? Maybe it's not a gimmick. The problem is that, like, I don't know. I guess I feel kind of paranoid about calling somebody, like, because what happens if it's somebody on my list who I've called before with that same pitch? I'm going to feel really stupid. And look, I know you can't worry about that shit, but I'm just telling you what I think. I'm not telling you not to do it. Benjamin Dennehy's had tremendous success with tons of things. It works for him. I know it's worked for people he's trained, because he has it all out there. He trains people to do it. Obviously, he wants to do it, but it's something that I'm going to avoid if possible. So there's a reason I got away from doing it, and we'll see. And then I sort of went back to it. But anyway, when I first started doing it, I had pretty good success. I had pretty good success in getting people to give me that 30 seconds. I think the last time I did it in a B2B call was when I called a guy who I said, like, did you want to hang up or did you want to give me 30 seconds? And he said, I want to hang up. And that was the first time I've ever had that happen. And I was like, shit. And I felt so bad. So I've never actually used that exact line since then. And I've never used any version of it in a B2B call. So, and then shortly after that, COVID hit, and that kind of ended all of my B2B cold calling. So, okay, here we are now. So that basically my idea then, after I got away from doing that whole, like, do you want to give me 30 seconds thing, what I started doing was going more like back to just getting to the point. So instead of doing what I used to do, which I probably should have stayed with, was I was reaching out regarding your website. I just wanted to see where you were with that today. I've replaced that open-ended question with This is Ballface8020 from XYZ Digital. We do web development, and I was just wondering, I wanted to reach out and see if you were considering upgrading your current website. So which one of those is better? I guess probably the first one is better because you're giving them an opportunity. It's an open-ended question to give them an opportunity to talk, because that's what you want to do. You want to get them started talking. And it's easier for me to say the second one because it gets right to the point. And it's like if it's something that they're not interested in, they're going to get me off the phone. And whereas like if I give like some kind of open-ended thing, I kind of feel I'm self-conscious that they like know what I'm doing. But really that's bad of me as a salesman. I should just, bite the bullet. It's not that big a deal, and stick with my original open-ended way. That's what I should have done. Like I said, I haven't done B2B in a few months. But I think you're seeing is like one other thing I want to really mention. In B2B, I'm not talking about anything of cold calling dealing with gatekeepers. That's a totally separate issue. It would need to be a separate video. I can tell you right now, again, talk to what Benjamin Dennehy does. What Benjamin Dennehy mainly does, first thing I would say with any gatekeeper is just try to say like, hello, can you put Bill on, please? And then if they ask for the name, give the name. And then if they ask who you're with, then give that. Now, at that point, it's probably not going to happen. But a lot of times, you just say like, put Bill on, please. A lot of the time, that will work. That will get you through. So just do that. That's my first advice. However, like if you got a gatekeeper who's tough, or you're calling into a bigger place where it's tough, what Benjamin Dennehy does is, and I think I've mentioned this before, is he tries to sound like a ball-breaking CEO, so the person thinks like, oh, this is somebody this is a peer of my boss. I should put this person through and let them make the decision. Like maybe it's a sales call. I don't know. I'll let them make the decision. And, so he'll be like, Bill's not in, is he? And then he'll say, no, this is the receptionist secretary is like, oh no, he's in, who's speaking this? And he goes, tell him it's Benjamin. Thanks. And, but like, he'll like, again, he's got the voice to pull that off. And, and the voice and the personality to pull it off. I can't do it. I've tried to do it, and for me, it doesn't work. So what most people do to get through the gatekeepers is like what I said is about, be straightforward and, just be like, put me through with Bill, please. And if they ask, be honest, don't try to be like aloof and stuff, because they know it's a sales call. And that's stupid. I think I even once said to not give a lot of information. And you don't have to babble or pitch the gatekeeper. That's really stupid. That's going to hurt you. But I was supposed to not talk about this. but just today, like, can I speak with Bill, please? And then say, can I ask who's speaking? This is Ballface8020 from XYZ Digital. Or no, I would say this is Ballface8020. And if they say, what's this call regarding? The website. So I still haven't given any information. And then it just says something like, is he expecting your call? I would probably say like, yeah, sure. You said he's clairvoyant, right? I mean, that's what I would do, but I don't know. I mean, that's probably not going to work. It's probably not going to work. I really couldn't give you advice for that, but mainly by the time it gets to that point, what they're probably going to happen is they're going to take a message or they're going to send you to voicemail. And that's going to be how you're going to have to get around with them, is just persistence. Like if you've ever seen Wall Street, how did Charlie Sheen eventually get through to Gordon Gekko? He called every day, left a message with his secretary for a year. Yes, I know it's just a movie, but that's how getting through gatekeepers work. The main thing is persistence. Just calling. And then eventually, sometimes, some of them, like let's say if you got 80 people a month, or I'm sorry, 90 people a month, you're calling 100 people a month. 10 you get through to. You just get through to by yourself. 90 of them, you're leaving messages every day for a month. Of those ones you're leaving messages for every day for a month, I don't know, 9 of them eventually like talk to you, and then maybe you sell 1 or 2 of them, and you've done really well. That's what it is. That's sales. That's cold calling. But that's where it comes down to with gatekeeping. So I know that was going to be a separate video, and I got completely waylaid. Sorry about that. Anyway, what I'm doing now doesn't involve that, and I don't like it. It's something I'm not good at. I think it's really hard, and I've never had a tremendous amount of success with it. But that's how most people do it. If you're not able to pull it off like Benjamin Dennehy. So anyway, right, this is another thing. I felt like, cold calling is something that I'm good at, I'm comfortable with. I've been doing it for a long time. And so I got into it when I started doing insurance. I thought like, whatever, like the closing might be a problem because I've never been good at it, but I didn't think there would be a problem with cold calling. And that's not it's no, there has been a problem. And, the I really struggled at first. And insurance at the agency I'm at what do you call I'm at Sleazy and Rico's Discount Home and Auto Insurance. And for us, like the cold calls that the agency provides us with, like we have some like hot and warm inbounds. So those aren't a problem. But other than that, there's really two main lead sources we have. One is what's called cross sells. That's when you call somebody who's already got an auto policy with us and you say like, hey, if you add a home or a renter's policy, we can get a big discount and really save a lot on both of your coverages. And then that's cross sells. Those I haven't had tremendous success with, but I've at least sold one. At least I sold one renter's policy. Whereas I've never sold a win back, and that's the other kind. That's like considered the best kind, which is somebody who's left Sleazy and Rico's discount auto service. I've never had success with that. And you might think, well, like, yeah, of course they left. Why would you have success? Yeah, you know what? Other people do. In my office, there's only one guy in my office who I've really seen have success with it. I don't know exactly what it is that he does. Although I think you know what? I don't want to give away anybody else's stuff. Because I know he's very sensitive about his proprietary methods. But so for me though, I've never had any success, and I've had a real time. When I don't just mean success like I'm actually able to get some quotes, but my per hit percentage is very low, and I think a lot of that is because the data we're all of us are working on the same data that's been pounded to death, and but I've never actually been able to sell something off a win back. I've been able to get some quotes. So I've tried it a million different ways, not a million different ways, but a lot of different ways. So the first thing that comes to mind, obviously, was forgetting about the win back portion and just calling the number and saying, hey, this is Ballface 8020 from Sleazy and Rico's Discount Home and Auto Insurance. I just wanted to touch base with you to see where you were with your insurance today. Horrible thing to say. No success with that at all. That's like the thing is like all of the ones that served me so well for mortgages and served me at least okay in B2B. I don't have a lot of case studies there. Was completely useless when doing insurance. Completely useless because everybody is going to say, I'm fine with my insurance. There's not going to be any exceptions. Everybody's going to say that. It's completely worthless. It doesn't work at all. So I realized that very quickly that didn't work. So then I started saying, like, okay, well, I'll mention the win back portion, and I said like, hey, this is same thing. This is Ballface 8020 from Sleazy and Rico's Discount Home and Auto Insurance. I usually just say from Sleazy and Rico's. From Sleazy and Rico's. You used to be with us. Sure, you had a good reason for leaving, but we would love a chance to win your business back, and our rates have come way down in the last few months. Do you have a few minutes so I can give you a quote and see if we can save you on your current coverage? Okay, I could get some quotes from that, but very few. And this goes back to what I said at the beginning about needing to feel comfortable with the pitch. I never felt comfortable. It always felt like like you guys could tell me, Steve, when I was doing it right now. It didn't seem smooth, right? I just couldn't say it smoothly. It was like too many words, too much information to convey. So that didn't work. That didn't work either. So, as I was saying, I would say, hey, Bill, this is Ballface 8020 from Greasy and Rico's. Would you like to hear a quote? Would you like to hear a quote for your insurance? Something like that. So that anybody could say that, right? So that So that was easy to say. That got rid of the anxiety. The problem is the hit rate on that was so low because the overwhelming majority, I would say 1 out of every 75 dials, you at best, you would get somebody who would be like, okay. And it just, most people are like, no, I'm good. So it was too inefficient. It was too inefficient. So nothing was fucking working, you know? Um, well, I'm going to make an aside here. Sometimes people say, like, be conversational and stuff. And there are times for that, but not at the beginning part of a cold call. I don't know. I don't think there's any data to show this up, but I never say it, and it makes me cringe when other people say it. Is when people open a cold call and then say, like, "Hey, Bill, how are you?" Like, why would you start a call that way? Like, you don't care. They know you don't care. It's just stupid. They know when you're saying that, they know they're like, oh shit, here we go. Here's a cold call. Just get to the fucking point. Get to the fucking point. You don't have much time. You don't make that's all that asking that how are you? That's not gonna break the ice. That's gonna cause them to get defensive. Which is exactly what you don't want. You want it to lower their defensive barriers. So anyway, I was frustrated. Nothing was working. Oh, and by the way, my ultimate solution to this is I'm just not going to do win-backs anymore. I quit. I refuse to do them anymore. But so maybe I'm not the best person to give advice about this. Let's actually dial back a second. So anyway, I looked at the actual official training of how you do it. Sleazy and Rico's has a program of how you do win-backs. And what they say, one advantage you have with winbacks is it's not really a true cold call. You've got their information. You always have the name and number, obviously, or you shouldn't be calling. I mean, if you don't have the number, you can't call, and if you don't have the name, you shouldn't be calling. But you also have their address and what their policy covered and stuff like that. Now, you're not going to waste the time to go look up every single thing. So what the official training does, and I dismissed this at first, but now I think it probably would be pretty good, would be like, and then you'd say something like, and yeah, I'm not perfect at it because I don't do this a lot, but this is how they would tell you to do it. Like, hey, Bill, this is Ballface 8020 from Sleazy and Rico's. You used to be insured with us, and we would love to have you back. So I would love a chance to requote you. Are you still at 878 Larchmont Avenue in Schittsburg, Bidenland, something like that? And what they call assume the sale, before they even have a chance to like reject anything, get them started and get the conversation started. Now you're going to have people. Still, you're always going to have people who like fight you, hang up, say not interested. You're still going to have that same shit almost as much as you would in anything else, but you get at least the conversation started. And then just talk about like, you started the process without asking them because you didn't give them a chance to think, to say yes or no. You didn't give them that out at the beginning. You started it. Now they can still make that decision for themselves, where they can tell you not interested, they can hang up, or they can go along with it. And some will. Look, I like the idea. Here's the problem. First of all, not really my style, but I would be willing to do it anyway. Second of all, the data that I work fucking sucks. I would say that the majority of the people that I call from winbacks say Ballface 8020, I'm still with Sleazy and Rico's. And that when I'm just there feeling like, oh, well, thank you for choosing Sleazy and Rico's. Sorry I bothered you. And so I don't like, I mean, yes, I guess I could do it that way, where I could say like, I could start selling the stuff that way, but I just don't have enough confidence in my data. And it just like, I mean, maybe this is me being a wimp, but it goes to show you how important good data is. So what I then did is I said, okay, I'm going to treat this like it's a pure cold call, the closest thing, like I've just pulled their number out of the phone book. And so I say, I would say, hey, this is Ballface 8020 from Sleazy and Rico's. This is Ballface 8020 from Sleazy and Rico's. Bill, did you want to do me a big favor and listen to a 15-second sales pitch? So kind of like the whole like, do you want to like this is a sales call? Do you want to give me 30 seconds or hang up? But I've shortened it because one, my sales pitch isn't that long. I don't have that much to say. And two, it's kind of more my own spin on it. It's more like in line with my personality. Um, Again, this is the thing is most people here in the B2C space, especially once you say that, you're with Sleazy and Rico's, whichever it's a local insurer around here. Everybody knows it's an insurer. Since most people are happy with their insurance, they're going to be like, nah, I'm going to hang up, especially, or like, nah, sorry, I don't have time. Can't do it right now. Some people say, yeah, call me back later, which don't do that because don't call. You tell them you're going to call them back, but don't do it because they're not going to pick up. I mean, you can call them back later when you're reworking the data. Definitely do that, but don't like if they say if you try to like pin them down, saying like, oh, it will be a better time for me to call you back, and they go like, I don't know, like 5:30. If you call them at 5:30, they're not going to pick up. So um, oh, sorry. I have to do one last thing. We're going to dial back for really quick. There was one other cold calling job that I had. That was the job I mentioned. You got the job that I hated. That I was working from home. That one, as an appointment setter, that one I was pretty good at. And that one I called up and I said, hey Bill, this is Ballface 8020. I have here that you had indicated in the past that you're interested in what we do here. Was that something you were still interested in that case? So that was one. Those leads though were because the business I was working in was one of the few that did what we did. That line made more sense. So I didn't have any problem with going just straight. Was this something you were still thinking about? Was this something you were still interested in? Stuff like that. And that worked very well. I don't think you needed to do anything special for that one. So there's another example. So basically I had good intros for everything until I started to doing win-backs for insurance. And not that I was great at the cross sells for insurance either. But the cross sells really are close to not being total cold calls because they're already with Sleazy and Rico's. So it's like you can just say, this is Ballface 8020 from Sleazy and Rico's, and they'll be like, oh, that's my insurer. So they're going to listen to what you say. It's not really, you'll have people even then who hang up on you, but you have more time to like kind of get to the point. But anyway, I'm sorry about that. Now we're back in the thing. So this one, when I started doing this, the like, did you want to make my day and listen to a 15-second sales pitch? I got a much better response since I've started doing that. I've got still, don't get me wrong, the overwhelming answer. First of all, most people don't pick up, and it's not 25% of people who pick up because my data has been pounded to death. It sucks, but it's like 15% at most, and at least 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5. Actually, that's not true. I would say at least, I would say 4 out of 5 won't even let you. They'll say no, too busy, or no, sorry, because they hear insurance and they're done. So maybe you could. There's really no way. There's really no way to do it unless I just wanted to go without saying that I was with Sleazy and Rico's. I could, but the thing is, I don't know really how you would do that, because then it's even more random. Then the person doesn't even know like what the pitch is about. So I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. But I would say 4 out of 5 people actually say, no, I won't listen to the 15-second sales pitch. And some will be cool about it, some will be dicks, some will just hang up. However, the success rate is clearly higher than when I was just saying, like, did you want to hear a quote? I would say if I make 100 dials, I can always get at least one quote, and usually 2 doing it this way. And like, if I was like a more motivated worker, I could definitely do 200 dials a day. So I could be getting 4 quotes a day. How many of those could I sell? I mean, with my success rate, none, because I just haven't had any success with these. It's a mixture of, some of it might be mistakes on my part. Most of it is just, a lot of these people, again, because insurance is like, everybody's happy with their insurer. So what you'll have is a lot of people who will be like, either they won't, like when you get the information to get the quote, they won't pick up when you call them back. Or the ones who do pick up, they pick up because they want to hear the quote and be like, oh, wow, yeah, that sounds good. But then, if you don't close them on that call, forget it. So, I mean, I don't know. It's basically the way I'm doing it. I could probably have some success if I was willing to make the amount of dials, but like I said, it's something I'm not comfortable with because everybody in the office is working from the same data. I'm so sick of contacting people who either they're still with Greasy Enrico's or they're complaining to me like, I told you to take me off the list. It's like, well, no, you didn't tell me. You told one of my other coworkers who either was too fucking stupid to take it off the list or didn't realize that the name was removed. And it's just really awkward. Now, like, because I'm cool with people saying shit like, also, there's a lot of duplicates on the list. So sometimes, not I'll call and they will be like, actually, it was you who called me yesterday. And it's like, and I told you I wasn't interested. And it's like, that's like super awkward. And so the thing is like, if I'm going to be calling people cold, I want it to be data that only I'm using, or as part of like a CRM that's integrated with the rest of the workers. So if somebody says not interested, they get either taken off the list or put on a do not call for 6 months or something, So, but like, just to like be dialing and then having to deal with this multiple times a day, it's just, I just can't do it. It sucks. So my plan going forward is I'm just going to buy my own data. You can actually get it for, I don't know if cheap is the right word, but affordable, just buy cold leads. And I haven't really decided how I'm going to approach these cold leads, but at least when I will know it's people who aren't currently insured with Greasy Enrico. I'll know that for certain, and I'll know that I haven't called them because there won't be any duplicates on the list, and I will know that my coworkers haven't called them, and I can just work my data and just work that. And part of me is thinking of just stick with the whole like, did you want to make my day and listen to a 15-second sales pitch? And another part of me is thinking that like, just go straight into the sales pitch without asking them. The question is, you don't know how much time you've got. So it's mainly if you're comfortable with it. And basically what I would say is, like my sales pitch when I get it is something like, as I said, my name is Ballface8020. I'm with Sleazy Enrico's. And what I do is I make a creative use of Sleazy Enrico products to save consumers like yourself hundreds or even thousands of dollars a year on your home and auto coverage. For me to generate a quote for you, I would just need a little bit of information that would just take a few minutes. Do you have a few minutes now? That's what I would say. So, generally I like to ask permission first. I probably am going to get away from that and just go straight into the pitch. I was only doing the ask for it because my data just fucking sucked. So again, I'm not telling you not to do it or to do it. It's a tactic that's out there. I think I'm probably done with it, but I will, like, if I ever get in a situation before where I'm making outbound calls that I just have no idea how to start, like, I'm gonna start it that way. It's like that's cool because I think it's a good crutch. I think it's a good crutch way to open stuff up. Yeah, and here's the thing to remember with cold calls is there's only so many dials you can make, and there's only so much data you have. You don't want to burn a lot of data. Like when I was at the place that I mentioned, the job that I mentioned here before that I was working from home that I hated, like we had an auto dialer that everybody was on, like, because you would log into this auto dialer that was going on, and there would be times where the managers would just turn the auto dialer off because they say we're burning too much data. We need to make fewer calls. So you only have so much time. There's only so much data, and that's really what makes the efficiency so important. Like, there was this thing, if you've ever seen like the Jordan Belfort showdown with Grant Cardone on Jordan Belfort's podcast. Grant Cardone was saying that his cold call technique, either, I don't know what he does now or what he used to do, is he would just call up and be like, "Hey, want to buy my product? Want to buy my product?" And just say that to call it. And which is kind of what I was doing with the whole "would you like a quote" thing. And people have had success doing that. The problem is just that most people aren't going to even answer the phone. So you need to be making, you don't have to like kill it. You don't have to kill it. But like, if you want to make enough to like, you want to make at least some money, enough to make a living, you're going to need to be, a little bit more efficient usually than you'll get from just saying, want to buy my product in so many words. So like, if you could make infinite calls, and if you had access to infinite data, then absolutely, you could, there'd be nothing wrong with doing that, but you don't. So that's the reason. It's not about like, getting every call, or getting like, closing like at the top rate possible. Like, let's say the best cold caller in the world, converts 6 out of 100 dials. You don't need to get to that point, but you need, ideally to at least get to 1 out of 100. And that's going to require more usually than just saying want to buy my product. That's what all of this is about. This whole video. I think I kind of got off track there. So yeah, like I said, mainly it's about being comfortable with your pitch in anything you do, and understanding that it's going to be different for different industries and for different types of calls. And that's, which is why I think it's really important to, like, one thing that they do at our place is we'll have our data all jumbled together. Like, you'll have win backs mixed in with cross sells, mixed in with, some like old internet leads and shit like that, which means that like, if you could theoretically, I one of the reasons I got to the whole 15-second sales pitch thing is because I can use it for everybody. But, so, you have to like change up your intro depending on who you're calling, theoretically. So you want to be like, if you're calling from a list, you want to be able to do the same thing like on rote. It should be automatic. That's going to make, or else it's going to be a lot more stressful. And if you can handle it, great. But if somebody like me, it stresses me out, it burns me out. It's just, I'd rather just focus on one thing, which is, why I'm going to be just working these cold leads that are exclusively property of Ballface 8020. And we'll see how that goes. All right, well, I hope you guys learned something about cold calling. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments. That's all for now, and I'll see you in the next.